by now everyone's pretty much seen the newest goth styles for men, pretty much male goth styles video. A bunch of YouTubers have reacted to it, or goth YouTubers anyway. And obviously, I've seen the shit out of this video by now, so there's no point in me making a reaction to it, but obviously, as everyone's pretty much been kind of pissed off, the whole emo thing that was included in the video as one of the styles of goth, which it obviously is not. If you go to the video and you scroll down, you'll notice that, like, every other comment pretty much is, emo isn't goth, emo isn't goth, emo isn't goth, emo's not goth, how dare they call emo goth, which is factual. I'm probably on there at some point like, what the fuck? This shouldn't be on the video, because emo has nothing to do with goth. And it doesn't, so basically this is a emo isn't fucking goth video that needs to be done now, because a fucking video that got, I guess, somewhat popular within goth circles anyway, considered emo to be goth, which it's not. And basically, if you are someone who has confused the two and considers emo to somehow be goth, I guess list your fucking reasons why, and I'll tell you why you're wrong. As will pretty much any other goth, because frankly there is almost no similarities. I think probably the only thing you can even sort of say is that both emo and goth tend to use the color black. Now, obviously, not all goths use the color black, not all emos use the color black, whatever. It's just, black is common with both goths and emos. That doesn't really mean shit, though, because black is pretty common with metalheads, too, and, like, a ton of other fucking groups. Black doesn't equal goth. It doesn't. So, just because they have, like, I don't know, a bunch of fucking black clothes on doesn't mean shit. And I know that some emos do backcomb their hair, but frankly, I never see this at all. I know that some do that, but it's a goth thing, the backcombing hair. Emos have the whole side swoop hair thing, the short hair that's kind of side swooped. That's their hairstyle thing, and you really won't see that on goths, really. It's not our thing. And, like, emo is pretty much just a fashion and music thing. And it's basically dead. There isn't emos anymore, really. I mean, back in, like, 2001, 2008 and shit, yeah, there was fucking emos everywhere. But now, good luck finding an emo, for one. Especially outside of high school. Like, even when I was in high school, there was, like, maybe 2 emos. And then once you leave high school, they're just all fucking gone. Because emo is very much a young kids thing. Same with scene. It's part of the reason why no one really ever says scene person, they say scene kid. And emo is usually emo kid, but most people just shorten it down to emo now, because it's just fucking easier. And emo was way more blown up than scene ever was, because scene was just kind of an offshoot of emo. But you won't really see them in the adult world. This is kind of the exact opposite with goth, because you're not going to find a lot of goths in high school. I, frankly, was the only one in high school. But you go to universities and clubs, which are very much adult-only, you will find goths. Of course, this depends on what club you go to. I mean, if you go to a country club, you're probably not going to find goths. I mean, you might, it's unlikely, but again, with the whole emo is just a music and fashion, it's not really a subculture per se. It's more just a fashion and music trend. Because just because there's a music genre and a clothing style that's tied to that music genre doesn't make that something a subculture. There's a hell of a lot more to a subculture than just music and fashion. And yeah, emo has, I guess, a personality tied to it, but that personality is just pretty much general teen angst, which almost all teen has. Almost every teen goes through teen angst. It's not really an emo thing, it's just teen angst. Welcome to being a teenager, especially in this current day and age with the fucking orange man running around everywhere. Fucking Lord damn that. Like, right now, teen angst is probably running at an all-time fucking high. And surprisingly, I don't really see a revival of emo happening anytime soon, so. But even if you go into just the fact that the music and the fashion, because since that's all emo really has, that's really the only comparison points you can make. Again, the only similarities between the fashion is the use of black. That's really it. You're not going to see emos decked out in Victorian dresses. Or Romantic-era dresses. You're not going to see them wearing trad goth clothing. That's not emo, really. Emo is skinny jeans, graphic tees, kind of lazy, possibly striped hair, black makeup. Usually an overabundance of black makeup instead of stylized, whereas goths tend to do is stylized black makeup instead of just raccoon eyes, which is kind of common with the emos, because that's all I've ever seen on emos is the raccoon eyes, honestly. There's the occasional one that's, like, got makeup skills, but for the most part, it's just fucking raccoon eyes, which goths tend to prefer to avoid, the whole raccoon eyes thing, because it doesn't look the greatest. It looks good if you're going to a club, and you're gonna get shit-faced, because you're gonna fuck your makeup probably anyway, so who cares if your makeup looks like shit to begin with, it's gonna look like shit at the end of the day anyway. So in fashion, it's not comparable, really, especially because goth has, like, 28 plus different fashion styles tied to it, whereas emo just kind of got the one. So there's way more variety when it comes to goth, and it's just, and some of those styles don't even use the color black in goth, so then it even loses any resemblance to the emo style. And with music, everyone pretty much knows what fucking emotion rock or screamo sounds like. It's dramatic, it's emotional, it's usually sung by somewhat attractive-looking males. It's usually depressive and sad and woe is me and screaming in between points, or the lyrics are screamed, or just the chorus is screamed, they're screaming. But for goth rock, which is the music genre for goths, or the goth music genre, not the only thing goths listen to, but it is the goth genre, hence the name goth rock, you're not going to find screaming. That's kind of like pretty much a no-no with goth music is screaming. You don't fucking scream. The lyrics can be kind of like sad and depressing, but it's usually in a more poetic, beautiful, self-assessing, just more intelligent, I guess, and less woe is me, just a lot more introspective and poetic, really. And the songs tend to be a little bit longer, too. Like, hell, I've listened to some that are like 10, 15 minutes long, which is a little long, even in my opinion. But the music is not even comparable. And in the voices in general with the lyrics, usually in emotion rock or screamo, emo rock, the singers have more high-pitched vocals, whereas goth male musicians tend to have very deep, rumbly, throaty, growly voices. Growly is not the same as screamy. The voices are just a lot more deep. At least for the male singers. Female singers, it kind of is just a massive variation of, maybe they're singing opera, maybe they're just got this weird high-pitched, funny vocal changing stuff going on, you don't know. But the men usually have a deep voice. In most goth rock bands, anyway. Not all, just most. Whereas emo is different. So, yeah. There's that, but you can't really compare notes on much else, because there's really only those two things in emo, and the personality is just entirely based on teen angst, which it's not in goth. There really isn't teen angst in goth a lot, because there's not really teens in goth. I mean, you're gonna find some goth teens, but they're a rarity. You're more likely to find a 38-year-old goth than a 17-year-old goth. So teen angst isn't really a thing all too much in the goth fandom. Subculture, fucking Christ, I can't believe I said that, whatever, in the goth subculture. But I know there is a lot of goths who like to play angst, and just be as angsty as they fucking can because cringe, and because they just want to dick around, which is totally fun. I mean, you look on Tumblr, you will find enough goth blogs that are just like, I want to be angst as much as angst can be angst. And it's usually more just poking fun and being humorous than being genuinely angsty. And that's the only kind of angst you'll get with goths, is we're just poking fun at angst itself and just being ridiculous. And sometimes we're just poking fun at the goth stereotypes, because the stereotypes exist, you might as well poke fun at them a little bit. And I guess, like, and, like, in Goth, like, we've got clubs, we've got conventions, books, poetry, movies, novelia, toys, video games, etc. There's so much more in the goth subculture than there is with the emo fashion style music trend, etc. And that's kind of one of the big differences, and probably one of the reason a lot of people got pissed off about emo being included in the years of goth fashion in men video thing. I know I'm probably totally get horribly wrong, but I don't care. Yeah. My timon is over here. Yeah. Oh, you're gonna slink just so you're outside of the video, aren't you? Ha! I got you. I have my laptop sitting on top of a fucking box, and he's sticking his head in the box, because, you know, cats in boxes. Yeah. But a lot of the reason why people probably got pissed off is just simply because it doesn't make a lot of sense to include it, and it was never part of goth. I think the same kind of reaction would happen if they, like, made a years of punk fashion and threw emo in with it. I think people would also be pissed off there, and it's like, of course people are going to be pissed off. It's not part of it. I would much rather them try to do 50 years of emo, which is utterly impossible, but I'd rather them try to do that than throw emo in with goth fashion, because it's not part of it. And that is my problem, I guess, with people making videos about goth who are not part of the goth subculture or don't really know much about goth, is they start lumping shit in with goth that isn't goth, like emo, or start saying that punk is just a style of goth fashion. That's not the case. Or they'll say the music is like, they'll say Black Veil Brides, Disturbed, those are goth rock, and it's fucking not. Not even kinda. That's kind of where we get into the issue, and unfortunately, like, these videos tend to get a little bit more popular, unfortunately, because these channels get the mainstream view, and then mainstream people watch these videos and go, oh, this must be goth, instead of watching an actual goth talk about goth, I'm gonna watch this non-goth talk about goth, and assume they're right about goth, which can just lead to a spreading of false stereotypes, or even just things that are just factually incorrect, like emo being goth, which it's not. So, I mean, it spreads misinformation, and that's really a problem for anyone in the subculture at all, because misinformation doesn't do anyone any fucking good. All it does is annoy people and make everyone's day a little bit harder, because you'll be arguing with someone, but isn't emo goth? No, it's not. But this person lumped it in with goth. That person's not a goth. They don't know what goth is. Of course they lumped it together. They don't know what the fuck the difference is, because they didn't bother to research it beforehand. And one of the other things with the video is they put the sorry, not sorry underneath the emo thing. It's like they're blatantly knowing they're incorrect on putting it in with goth, and know they're gonna get shit on for putting it in with goth because it's not goth, but they're gonna do it anyway because fuck you and your facts. Cause it's like, what the fuck? Like, that there was them pretty much just being like, yeah, fuck you, we say it's goth, so it's goth, even though we don't know what the fuck goth is. That shit kind of annoys me. I would have been fine if they had just left the emo thing out. And I mean, there's hundreds of other fashion styles they could have put in there instead. Because, like I said, there's like over 28 different goth fashion styles, so they easily could have thrown in a different fashion style instead of fucking emo. My only thing is I'm very happy they didn't attempt to throw in pastel or new, because those are also not goth. That was one of the things that kind of annoyed me with the other one. But, yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about this. Stop spreading fucking misinformation, and you're sorry, not sorry is basically you admitting you're wrong, but putting it in the video anyway because you're a dick. So, yeah.